Let's bring in Laura Blumenfeld. She's a Middle East analyst at the Johns Hopkins University School of Advanced International Studies. Great to have you back on BBC News. I just want to get your reaction, first of all, to this massive series of explosions, really, there in the southern area of Beirut tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you specifically, but I would guess that what you're watching is Israel shredding Iran's insurance policy on their nuclear facilities. I mean, this has always been the deterrent to Israel, the missile stockpiles that Hezbollah was building. And right now, I think we're looking at a kind of race to the stockpiles ever since Israel eliminated Hassan Nasrallah last week. Both Hezbollah and Israel have been trying to get to them first, where, Hezbollah feels like it's a use it or lose it situation. And for Israel, it's destroy it before it's deployed against themselves.
What do you make of the way that Hezbollah has been responding, or maybe hasn't been responding? How weakened do you think the group might be after all these attacks over the last several days?
Well, Israel has always referred to Hezbollah as 10x, meaning 10 times as tough as Gaza. So there were no illusions that the fight would be easy against Hezbollah, especially compared to the fight with Hamas, which in itself was a slog. They took some heavy losses early on in some of those elite units, EGOs, which really struck at the kind of morale heart of Israel. So I don't think Israel thinks it's going to be easy. They're determined. I would say they would borrow a page from Hobbes. They prefer their wars to be nasty, brutish, and short. And if they can achieve that, they'll have the win they're looking for.
And of course, this is all taking place in Lebanon, but the strikes tonight in Beirut, where many people live, there were warnings for people in the area to get out of harm's way, a 500-meter radius. But what does the current humanitarian situation mean for Lebanon? How equipped is the country really to deal with what we're hearing could be up to 1 million people internally displaced?
Terrifying. I mean, I was in touch with a friend in Beirut this evening. She said she feels like and she's tough. She's been around a lot of war. She said she feels like she's standing on the edge of a cliff looking down, and that if Iran in particular goes berserk and orders Hezbollah to fire their long-range missiles, then 1982, which devastated Beirut, is going to look like, in her words, a walk in the park.
And that's probably why the U.S. had really been calling for and pushing this 21-day ceasefire agreement to get both sides, including Hezbollah, to stop firing at each other. Is there any hope now, do you think, of any kind of diplomatic, even a short-term solution here?
Right. That 21-day ceasefire proposal was met with a 21-gun salute by Israel, eliminating Nasrallah. Look, Israel believes, again, channeling Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, you can't earn at the negotiating table what hasn't been won on the battlefield. So they believe, fight first and talk later. I think that General Kurilla, the United States Central Command top general in the Middle East, has arrived in Israel, boots on the ground. That will provide some kind of clarity for Israel and no daylight between Israel and the United States, which hopefully will bring this to a swift end, the fighting, and being able to translate that again into some kind of long-term political solution. Everyone agrees you need a political horizon.
And Laura, I just want to point out, we continue to watch live the situation there in Beirut. That screen to your right, there is a fairly large plume of smoke continuing to rise there. You can see some of the flames glowing there in the night sky, about 2 a.m., of course, in the region there. Laura, what do you think about Iran now? We heard the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu pledging to respond to Iran's attacks. Do you think they might take an opportunity here to bring the fight to Iran in some sort of way, similarly to what we've seen Israel doing with Hezbollah?
Absolutely. I think for Netanyahu, this green lights that kind of final showdown blow that he's been itching for years. The first two obvious options, nuclear facilities and oil facilities, have been taken off the table, at least by President Biden. So it'll be interesting to see whether he defies the U.S. president during this kind of, it's almost like an interwar period in U.S. politics where you have three presidents in one, right? You have Vice President Harris, and you have former President Trump with his own kind of, he's sort of rooting for a strike on Iran, in fact, on their nuclear facilities. And then you have President Biden going the diplomatic route. So it'll be interesting to see which way Netanyahu goes. But this is certainly the opportunity he's been looking for. And Sinwar, after all, began this sort of Al-Aqsa flood a year ago. The anniversary is coming up on Monday. And what better way to deliver the message to the world that Israel is not a victim than by taking the initiative and going all the way?
Yeah, that October 7th anniversary just around the corner, 1 year now of this conflict, and of course, those tragic events of October 7th. Laura Blumenfeld, always great to have you on. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we can just take a quick